riders will receive 4,550 pesos each, and still no lists of tricycle drivers eligible for the cash aid.
Nag-aantay lang kung may darating.
Sana asikasuhin nila para sayang din yun, di ba?
The transport regulator has suspended the payouts pending clearance from election officials from the ban on disbursements. The Stop and Go Transport Coalition fears it will be another broken promise, but the LTFRB is hopeful it can resume the distribution soon.
Yung subsidy ng March, hindi pa nga nabigyan lagi, ilan lang, tapos ngayon, nung month of April, itong buwan na ngayon, sasabihin nila, suspend muna.
We are truly apologetic po sa nang humihingi po kami ng paumanin sa nangyari po na pagkaantala po. Meron lang talagang technicalities at legalidad na kailangan nating sundin. Pagkatapos po na mailabas po ng COMELEC ang kanilang desisyon, kaagad naman po nating sisimulan yung pag-credit na naman ulit.
Another transport group, Pasang Mazda, tells CNN Philippines it understands the setback. But as fuel prices remain high, they are reviving the call to increase the minimum fare from 9 pesos to 14 pesos in Metro Manila, Central Luzon, and Southern Tagalog.
Kala natin magbabago ng presyo ng petroleum product in a month time. Subalit, nakita natin yung paggalaw sa pagdating ng merkado ay talagang hindi very volatile ang presyo kanya. Yun ang aming pagdinilay, pinatuloy ko natin.
The LTFRB confirms it has set another hearing in May. Amer Santos, CNN Philippines.
The 500 peso monthly ayuda President Duterte promised poor households will run for 6 months. Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez says advance payments for cigarette tax stamps will partly fund the 41 billion pesos needed for 6 months' worth of cash subsidies. Dominguez explains at least one cigarette company promised to pay the tax to the tune of 10 billion pesos.
Even the cigarette companies, we've asked them to pay in advance. And they have responded. One company gave 10 billion? Yes. Not gave, they advanced the purchase of the cigarette stamps. Let's say their inventory for cigarette stamps is on the average 7 billion. So sabi ko, you have the 7 billion plus 10 more for one company. The other one, I think, is about 7 or 8 cigarette stamps. They had give it to us, and they just bought in advance.
Mr. Duterte last month ordered the department to more than double the unconditional cash transfers from 200 to 500 pesos to help the poor cope with costly fuel and goods. Acting Budget Secretary Tina Rose Canda previously said the financial assistance would only be good for 3 months, with funding to be sourced from excess revenues collected from dividends remitted by state-owned corporations and from the value-added tax on oil. Tragedy in Navotas City earlier today. One person died and more than a dozen others rushed to the hospital following an ammonia leak incident. Paige of Air joins us now. Paige, tell us what happened.
Pia, it was deja vu for residents of Barangay and BBS Kaunlaran following another leak at Magsimpan Ice Plant. Just last year, a leak was also reported in the same plant right behind me here in Navotas City. The plant has been closed pending completion of the necessary requirements. Around 3 this morning, residents had to evacuate due to the foul smell and threat of ammonia exposure. The LGU shut the plant while the investigation is ongoing and while it has not yet been declared safe.
Nasabi ho sila na isang parte ho ng cooling system na siyatawag pong release valve napaka naging defective. At ito ho yung dahilan kung bakit ho nagkaroon ng gas leak. Ito ho ay hindi pa official na result ng report.
The city's disaster office says this is the third ammonia leak incident in the plant in the past 2 years. 14 residents rushed to the hospital have returned home, while the cause of death of the lone casualty is still being determined. The nephew of the 49-year-old victim recounted his uncle's last moments.
Lahat ng tao dito, as in lahat, walang natira. Nagtatakbuhan na kami. So siguro nagpanik na rin yung chewing ko na siyempre may sakit sa puso. Iniiwasan makaamoy ng ammonia. So yun, yung hindi na talaga niya kaya,
Ammonia is a chemical compound used as a refrigerant to make ice. Navotas is known as a largely fishing community, and these plants provide ice for them to preserve their catch. Pia.
Paige, will there be penalties for the ice plant?
Pia, we asked that earlier, and authorities cannot determine that as of now. They say they still have to meet with the plant's management, which there's also no date when this meeting will take place. They're also looking at the compliance requirements to see if there were indeed violations committed by the plant's management. The Navotas LGU is also looking into possibly reviewing the zoning of the city to see if there can be restrictions on where ice plants should be located to ensure the safety. Authorities say the Magsimplan plant has been around for at least 10 years and that there are also safety checks being conducted regularly. But the casualty's nephew appeals to the plant's owner.
Ang tagal na yan dyan. Almost simula sanggol pa lang ako, nandiyan na yan eh. Ang may advice ko lang sa may-ari ng planta, ano na lang po, lipat na lang or kung pwede, renovate na lang nila. Kasi hindi po tayo safe eh.
We're still reaching out to the management of the plant to get their side of the story, but we have yet to receive a response. Also, earlier, we saw personnel of the Bureau of Fire Protection enter the plant, as well as a truck, but we're still awaiting more details on this or any development on their probe. Pia.
Paige Javier there reporting. More students will finally be back in school after over 2 years of studying from home, away from their classmates and teachers. Education officials are putting up safeguards to ensure the safe return to in-person classes. Crisidi Matulak tells us students cannot wait to experience the fun in learning in the classroom again.
Robin and Samuel share the same household. During daytime, their living area becomes a mini classroom as they both attend their online classes. Robin teaches English to grade school and high school students. With the looming resumption of face-to-face classes, she says she's more than ready to once again see her students in the flesh.
Mas madali mo kasi talagang mai-apply doon sa bata pag kailangan mo ng added na strategy to help the child understand and learn sa mga lessons nila everyday.
Samuel, on the other hand, is a high school student at the same school where Robin teaches. He says online school was fun at first because he was able to spend more time at home. But now he looks forward to physically spend time with his classmates.
Yes, handa na po at makikita ko na po yung mga kaklase ko po sa teacher po kasi po fully vaccinated na po ako po.
With most of the country now under the lowest COVID-19 alert status, the government plans to expand face-to-face classes to more than 17,000 schools nationwide. The Education Department says online classes will still continue to avoid overexposing students to the virus.
Ang mundo ay hindi naman 100% face-to-face. Ang mundo umiikot din sa technology, umiikot din sa ibang pamamaraan to communicate. Kaya yung ating mga bata, ihahanda natin para dyan.
With more schools gearing up for face-to-face classes after the May pause, the Health Department assured the public that the country is ready in case of another surge.
We are prepared for that. You must remember our vaccination coverage is quite substantial now. No? It's about 74% of our target population of 90 million Filipinos are already vaccinated. So you cannot compare this year to year 2020 and 2021 because our vaccination coverage is much higher, more substantial.
DepEd recognizes the pandemic has left a permanent mark on the learning system in the country, forcing both teachers and students to adapt. The agency also says before face-to-face classes resume, many teachers hired during the pandemic are being retrained for back-to-school operations. Crisidi Matulak, CNN Philippines.
As the country prepares for the new normal, one expert is not ruling out the possible entry of the Omicron XE subvariant. Infectious diseases specialist Dr. Edsel Salvania says the hybrid of two Omicron subvariants, BA1 and BA2, is seen to spread 10% faster than the original BA2.
May na-report na isang case sa Thailand Now, itong mga recombinants na to, kung meron silang survival advantage, pwede silang lumaganap at kumalat sa iba't ibang places. There's always a possibility if it can come in, but we don't expect it to be more severe, and we don't expect it to dodge vaccines any worse than BA1 or BA2.
Salvania reminds the public to get boosted to increase immunity against Omicron XE, while the government is preparing to donate COVID-19 vaccines to Myanmar and Papua New Guinea. The Health Department checking which brands and how many doses will be given.
Mag-donate lang tayo nung kailangan nila at saka yung sa tingin naman natin, maaari nating itulong. But not all the excess stockpiles will be provided. And also, it's really not proper that we call it excess, no? Kung sakali, no? Meron po tayong ititira because we still need it. Meron po tayong additional na doses na naandyan na maaari po natin ibigay sa kanila as pagtulong sa mga bansang ito.
The donation comes as 27 million COVID-19 shots are set to expire in July. Coming up, in a few days' time, Filipino voters overseas can start casting their ballots, but some say the government is not ready for the absentee voting. And Converge ICT Solutions formalizes its entry into Asia's first professional basketball league. Details next, here on CNN Philippines.
SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao, para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay.
You're watching Newsnight on CNN Philippines. Check on the weather first. A rainy night still for Metro Manila with a low-pressure area and the shear line seen to bring cloudy skies with scattered rain showers in the region. It is the same situation for Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Bicol, Visayas, and Mindanao. Cloudy skies with rains will be felt in Cagayan Valley, while the rest of Luzon will have partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated light rains. The LPA was last spotted 260 kilometers east-northeast of Davao City. Pag-asa says it has low chances of developing into a storm in the next 24 hours. The Commission on Elections says it is all systems go for overseas absentee voting, which begins this weekend. But are the preparations for the month-long voting process amid the COVID-19 pandemic enough? Tristan Nadalo reports.
Some overseas Filipino workers are sounding the alarm over what they describe as late preparations on the part of the Philippine government for the absentee voting period. An OFW group in Hong Kong laments the lack of coordination with the Filipino communities, with their situation made more complicated by the surge in COVID-19 cases.
Sana nasasabi agad ang mga bara o kung may problema. At syempre, nai-inform din namin yung aming mga members at yung iba pang mga OFWs. So, at napaghahandaan ng mga parties dito yung ilang mga matters regarding sa mga volunteers, such as poll watchers at iba pa. Dahil din dun sa delay at kawalan ng public information, bulag na bulag yung communities.
Filipinos in Saudi Arabia fear that not all of them can cast their vote during the absentee voting period starting this weekend.
May tatlong centers lang of precinct ang voting centers ang meron sa Saudi Arabia. May mga areas, may mga lokasyon na kailangan pa magbiyahe ng 12 oras para lang makaboto by land.
COMELEC data show that there are close to 1.7 million registered overseas absentee voters for the May elections. Majority of them are in the Middle East and Africa, followed by the Asia-Pacific region. According to the advocacy group Right to Know, Right Now Coalition, despite the number of registered voters, low turnout can be expected due to several factors.
We feel that because the budget cut is significant, this might affect how effective the rollout of the overseas voting. Some will have to fly, that will mean missing a day's work, so some of these things. The other one, of course, this comes at the heels of the pandemic, where mobility was highly limited, and where even in some areas, even the operations of our diplomatic posts at times were limited.
Despite the limitations, the poll body says they have sent all the election paraphernalia to various posts abroad. Embassy and consulate personnel have also been trained to facilitate the voting process. Allowances and honorarium for election staff have also been set aside amid a tight budget.
Ready na po tayo dahil 100% na po natin na-dispatcha yung lahat po ng mga gamit na gagamitin nila magmula sa vote counting machines at saka doon sa mga balota. At the same time, yung mga iba pa mga election paraphernalia at yung ating mga post, ang ating mga embahada at konsulada kung saan gagawin yung mga botohan ay handang-handa na rin, lalong-lalo na yung mga staff po natin.
Some groups call for budget augmentation for overseas absentee voting. They also call on the government to ensure overseas Filipinos will have the means to take part in this crucial exercise of democracy. Overseas voters can only vote for national positions such as president, vice president, senators, and party list group. The voting period will be from April 10th to May 9th. Teresa Nudalo, CNN Philippines.
Former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo has endorsed presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos and his running mate Sara Duterte. Arroyo, who's running for re-election and is unopposed as 2nd District Representative of Pampanga, asked Kapampangans last Monday to support the tandem, saying the vice presidential bet's father, President Duterte, provided help to the province. But despite endorsements from big political names and high survey rankings, Sara Duterte is not yet confident she and Marcos will win the elections.
Confidence, wala po yan dahil we are always running scared. Yan po dapat ang mindset namin dahil hindi po natin, wala pong kasiguraduhan ang pagkapanalo until na-proclaim ka po.
A fisher group holds a parade at a fish port in Rizal Province in support of Vice President Leni Robredo and her running mate, Senator Kiko Pangilinan. Pamalakaya says the fishing sector's demand to uphold Manila's sovereignty in the West Philippine Sea and to protect Filipino fishermen in the territory are some of the reasons they are backing the tandem. Pangilinan says while he acknowledges the need for more water sources, the construction of the Calibo Dam should not disregard laws and the rights of communities that will be affected. He says the government should not rush the Chinese-funded agreement worth more than 12 billion pesos, adding the project might end up like the government's allegedly anomalous deal with Farmally if not properly studied. The Calibo Dam will traverse the provinces of Quezon and Rizal and is expected to deliver 600 million liters of water per day to Metro Manila and nearby provinces. A volunteer group for Manila Mayor Isko Moreno calls on presidential candidates to sacrifice and give way to one aspirant who will go up against survey frontrunner Bongbong Marcos. The group named Isko Moreno Volunteers urges candidates to rally behind the most winnable contender based on credible data. You can catch my interview with the head of the Isko Moreno Volunteers, Tim Orbos, later in Politics as usual at 8 in the evening. We'll also be speaking to Moreno's campaign strategist, Lilito Banayo. See them. And the Finance Secretary reiterating that the Bureau of Internal Revenue is still working on collecting the unpaid taxes from the heirs of former President Ferdinand Marcos. Carlos Dominguez also says the BIR is still determining the exact amount due.
There are several amounts that have been floated around. There was the amount of originally, I think, 9 billion, and then it became 23 billion, and then now because of penalties and interest, it's now, they say, around 203 billion. This has a long history, okay? This history goes back to when the estate actually was created when former President Marcos passed away. And it has been encrusted with a lot of court cases. And my understanding from the Bureau of Internal Revenue is that they are trying to cut through all these issues in order to do their job.
Former Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile has come to the Marcos family's defense. He says the issue is just purely political, nearly a month before the May 9 elections. Still on Newsnight, we meet the Converge Fiber Xers, the telco company's team at the Philippine Basketball Association. And the K-pop group Big Bang drops its first track in 4 years. Stay tuned.
SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao, para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay.
Welcome back. A new team is ready to take the PBA by storm beginning the next season in June. Converge announced its squad will go by the name Converge Fiber Xers in an official launch today. The telco company acquired the storied franchise of Alaska following 35 PBA seasons. The new team is said to have familiar faces led by former Alaska head coach Jeff Carriazo and star guard Jeron Deng. Ex-PBA Commissioner Chito Salud makes his return to the league as team governor.
Igitan pa namin ng aming effort to entertain more our Alaska fans. Igitan in terms of trainings, mga players ng medyo magagaling. So, yung coaching, yung exercise, yung practice, dadagdagan namin to make sure we be being competitive in this field.
Dennis wants a young team. He wants a fast team that can shoot the three.
In the UAAP, the UE Red Warriors suffered another loss in its first game this season without head coach Jack Santiago. The FEU Tamaraws topped the Red Warriors 88-74. UE has yet to score a season 84 win and has to go without Santiago until its next match. He was suspended after telling players to harm UP's Richie Rivero in a previous game. On the other hand, will the Ateneo Blue Eagles keep their winning streak going? The Blue Eagles are facing the NU Bulldogs 7 p.m. at the Mall of Asia Arena. Today also marks the first time in 2 years that UAAP games have a live audience. Heading overseas, rapper Kanye West drops out of one of the world's biggest music festivals, Coachella. West was set to headline the event along with Billie Eilish and Harry Styles. A source close to the artist says he didn't want to take the stage amid his divorce from Kim Kardashian. Multiple sources also saying West's performance at the Grammy Awards was canceled. He didn't show up, but he did win 2 Grammys. New releases in K-pop, Big Bang's highly anticipated comeback single Still Life is here. The veteran K-pop group last dropped music 4 years ago because the artists completed their mandatory military service. This is also Big Bang's first song as a quartet, with a member retiring from music in 2019. Take a listen. EXO fans have a lot to be excited about too, with vocalist Suho dropping his second mini album, Grey Suit. This also came with an emotional music video for its rock ballad titled Track. Suho came out with his first solo EP in March 2020 called Self-Portrait. What's new in movies and TV? A spin on a sci-fi classic and a film about something that may not be about science fiction for long. CNN's David Daniel tells us all about them on the Hollywood Minute.
This is your captain. Our mission. Chart the stars.
Star Trek Strange New Worlds is beaming down to Paramount Plus. Set on board the Starship Enterprise before the Captain Kirk era, the series stars Anson Mount as Captain Christopher Pike, Rebecca Romaine as Number 1, and Ethan Peck as Mr. Spock. The new Trek begins May 5th.
With meat consumption expected to double by 2050, we urgently need solutions. Welcome to the next agricultural revolution.
Jane Goodall narrates Meet the Future. That's MEAT. The documentary follows the pursuit of growing real meat from animal cells without needing to breed, raise, and slaughter animals. Goodall says it would reduce water and land use, methane, animal suffering, and future viral outbreaks. Meet the Future debuts Tuesday on digital platforms. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
And that is it for now. Join me again on Politics as usual at 8 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.